Oh, I started? Sorry. Vanesa R. I started working with Marvel like about a year ago. I just recently did Scarlet Witch #1.
Woo! Awesome work.
Thank you. There's stuff coming out soon, but I can't really tell what's coming.
No advance notice here. You can't release it here at Magic City and let the world know.
No.
I'm sorry. Okay, that's okay.
What's
That's
that?
okay. Well, what we can all
I'm
talk.
just gonna say spider. That's it.
Fantastic, fantastic. We'll promote that. Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Sara Pichelli, and I work for Marvel since 2008. And I think I'm best known for co-creating Miles Morales.
Woo! Absolutely.
Absolutely.
My hero.
And that's it. I'm currently working on a new series of Miles Morales, but still a secret, I guess.
My name's Dan. I worked in Marvel as a staffer many years ago as the art returnist. It's a great job. It's fantastic. I also used to give Marvel tours and introduce kids to Spider-Man at the end. It was really fun. Like, and this is Spider-Man. That's what I did.
Did you have to tell them that that's Spider-Man?
No. But there's a story. We'll get to that.
Well, I think one of the things that everybody wants to know, of course, is how much leeway do you have when you're working on these characters? Basically, as a writer, artist, writer, do you have? I think you mentioned yesterday, Dan, that you have all the toys in the toy box. Are you allowed to do everything with these toys, or what is the control of the editorial staff on what you can and can't do?
Have they ever stopped you from doing something you wanted to do?
Well, I haven't really gone out of.
Have they said you can't draw Scarlet Witch doing that?
Yes.
Like, what did they tell you couldn't do?
Butts.
Butts?
I don't like butts.
They don't like butts?
Butt cracks.
No butt cracks.
No butt cracks or nipples.
What have they stopped you from doing? That you can talk about?
My case, the gore stuff, blood, guts, that was my problem. That's it.
For me, it's editor to editor. Steve Wacker let me decapitate people. He let me do all kinds of naughty stuff, and yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And Nick Lobo let me do it. Most of the stuff I want to do. Like if you guys read Amazing Spider-Man 6, Cloak, who's now temporarily evil, he sucked up some guys into his cloak, some sailors on the ship, and he dropped them in the water way far away. In the original story, the original plot before Nick edited it, he dropped them in front of sharks. And Nick was, you can't do that. I'm like, why not? Well,
I can hear his voice.
yeah, it's like, eventually Spider-Man will have to, they'll go back to normal, and you can't have Cloak having killed sailors by dropping them in front of sharks. It's not nice. So there's constantly, there's sometimes I'll do something so violent or horrible, and Nick will just go, who hurt you? What's wrong with you? We had a Marvel summit where we were all talking about something. We were working out Civil War II bits, and people look at me, and I'm short and squat and fuzzy, kind of teddy bear, thing going on. And I said something during the Civil War II meeting. Well, what if this happened next? And people just look like, man, do not mess with Slott. It's kind of like Cartman at the end of South Park with the Tenement family and the chili. Yeah. Do not mess with Slott. They're like, that was dark, man. We're not doing that. So yeah, my mind goes. Did you guys read Arkham Asylum: Living Hell?
Yeah.
And you guys, yeah, that's where my mind usually goes. So they put me on Spider-Man. Why?
Well, if nobody has questions, I always have questions about collaboration. Dan, your work on Silver Surfer is fantastic, and working with Michael Allred is, I can't even imagine Silver Surfer any other way now. You know, it's so beautiful. Tell us about working with him. And
Mike Allred and Laura Allred are the nicest people in the whole world, and they're so upbeat and happy about everything, and it's impossible not to get happy talking with Mike, and you just get all jazzed, whatever you're doing. He could just write me a normal email, and I see in my email, bing, email from Mike. I'm like, Mike sent me. I just know it's going to make me all happy. It's one of the best collaborations I've ever had with someone, where I just, I throw him an idea, and he gives me something back that's better. You know, in Silver Surfer, any of those aliens you see, that's all out of Mike's head, because I know I've got Mike Allred with me. So I just go like, Mike, these aliens can look however you want. You know, or there might be a note like they need to look tough because Surfer's going to fight one of them later, or this guy's needs to be able to fit inside a spaceship. But outside of that, like I don't want to limit him in any way. So anytime there's like, every time you go to a new planet, all the architecture, all the stuff, I just want him to go crazy. And that's what I get, and it's just, every time, it's like improv. You know, you throw something to the artist, and the artist throws you something back, and if it's right, if the marriage is right between writer and artist, it just keeps building like a snowball, and you get happier and happier, and you're cooler with the whole process becomes great. When you're the right couple.
And you certainly are the right couple. I watch iZombie a lot. I know you all watch iZombie, but Mike Allred is the artist who did iZombie in the credits. And I was hoping that Silver Surfer will pop up in the credits for some reason. You know,
there's a Silver Surfer, the new volume comes out this Wednesday, and there is a very special cameo type thing if you're a Mike Allred fan.
Awesome. Yes, right here.
So in the creative process, how far ahead are you in the storyline? Are you, 3 months before it comes out, 4 months before it comes out?
It depends on the
Yeah.
book.
Right.
Right now I'm 4 issues ahead.
Right.
Come work with me.
Yeah, that's about right. 3 months.
3 months or so.
Something like that.
Yeah.
We put out 2 to 3. We put out usually 2 issues of SpiderMan a month, and no artist in the world can do like that every single month without like.
Right.
So we have breaks set up with a guest artist coming in, or a future storyline with a different artist, and because of that, I'm constantly writing the story of Spider-Man like I'm writing a novel with all the chapters out of order. Because I'm constantly writing something that might even be for next year, or so I'm constantly jumping back and forth and back and forth. It's weird.
Right.
Question here.
Hi, my question is for Sarah. You had the task of having to create a new Spider, because the Ultimate Spider-Man, Peter Parker, already existed, and unfortunately he passes away. So you could, how did you go about creating like the costume for Miles Morales?
Well, it was a long process, actually. Creating Miles took 4 or 5 months. Very intense brainstorming. I really wanted to draw a black suit. I was so into it. I said, yeah, I want to do that. Marvel will love it. And actually, I worked with Joe Quesada on it, and it worked.
So hoping the person with the sombrero asks a question.
I just have a question for all of you. For Civil War 2, have you guys confirmed any teams? I know it's Iron Man and Captain Marvel, but like who else is in their teams?
They want to know secrets about Civil War 2. Oh, God. And then the next day he was fired.
On Twitter.
I should just start telling crazy lies. Rocket Raccoon's on this team. And then we're bringing back Wood God.
Joker, isn't it?
This is a running. You'll know I've hit rock bottom if you ever see Wood God in one of my stories. You guys don't even know who Wood God is. Yeah, good.
Question.
Google Wood God right now on your phones. Google.
Hi, this question's for Dan. Dan, and I forget the issue number for Silver Surfer. The one where you had to read it and then flip it over and read it, and then you had to flip it over again. And you had to do it 4 times until you got to the end.
And do you read that digitally or on paper?
No, paper. Because I remember seeing your tweet on it saying that it had to be the physical form, and I don't collect it normally, but after that I started collecting it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm just curious, how did you guys come up with that? Was it just like something like, hey, let's just do it this way, or were you inspired? Because I mean, I'm an old guy, so I've been reading comics since '77, and it's like I've never seen this before.
It was weird, right?
No, it was good weird.
Silver Surfer 11. It's in the 3rd trade that just came out. The whole issue's laid out on a Mobius strip.
Yeah.
And it's 31 pages. And it's, and that, it's a Groundhog Day story. So you keep, or, live, die, repeat, whatever, where it's 4 days where it's the same day over and over again, but laid out on a Mobius strip. And then you start realizing as you're turning the comic upside down and reading it, you're like, how are they going to get out of this? That's weird.
But it was all different perspectives of the same story, which was like, I didn't expect, I'm just curious, like, did you just Mike Albert one day say, hey, I'm going to do this, or he was cooking the right?
I wanted to do this weird thing, and I had the idea, and I approached Tom Brevoort, which I was so grateful, because this book, it's down in the hundreds. It's selling well enough that it's not going to be canceled, and it's doing all right, but this isn't making Marvel a ton of money. And what's really great about Marvel is I went to him and I have this weird idea for a story, it will not fit in 20 pages. And he's like, how many do you need? And I'm like, 48 to 56. And he's like, can you do it in 30? I'm like, can I do it in 31 if we don't do a recap page? Because you can have 31 pages. So once I had the 31, then I started mapping it out. And I ran it by Mike, and I was like, Mike, would you like to do this? And I talked him through on the phone. And if you ever say to Mike Allred, do you want to do this? His answer is, yeah! Let's do it. Do you want to jump off the roof with me? Sure! This is Mike Allred. Where I had an artist on SpiderMan where I went, I've got this weird idea for this story. And this was before Birdman was out. I'm like, it's like the movie Rope. It's all in one take. It's all one tracking shot. And it goes all over the city, but you would all lay it out with one continuous background. And the artist was like, can we just tell a story? I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. And we didn't. But with this, I just threw this weird ass idea to Mike, and he just ran with it. But to make it work, and I can show you after the show, after the panel, I have a giant whiteboard in my office where I have mapped out like 3 issues at a time, and to do Surfer 11, where it was all one thing for Surfer 11, and there are all these little sketches of how to, like IKEA instructions, like how to build the issue, and I sent it all to Mike, and he calls me up and he goes, there's a change I'd like to do to it, and I was like, really? I had this whole thing meticulously worked out, the whole Rube Goldberg of it all, and you want to do changes, and he did this change, and it was brilliant. It was something this is why you need wonderful artists, is he changed the shape of the panel so that every panel resembled an arrow and naturally led your eye on the right way to go in this incredibly confusing story. Oh my God, it was genius. And it was like everything, if you're working with the right guy, everything, or gal, everything will work out perfectly. That's, if it works out right and you have the right rhythm going, and when you're writing your stuff, your really good scripts in comics, they're not meant for you, they're meant for them. Every script should be written like a love letter to your artist. Everyone should be like, would you like this? And how would you like to do that? What do you think about this? And if you really have a good marriage, you're that couple that nobody wants to play Pictionary with. You're that like, draw a little dot, and they go, ooh, unbearable likeness of being, and you're like, yeah! When you get to that level, that's when it's working. And that's the way it is, yeah. So, yeah, I now think we can do anything on Surfer after we did that issue. And we'll try, as long as you guys keep buying it, we'll do 1 issue a year where we do something really weird like that. And that'll be fun.
Thanks.
Question.
So in the Marvel Universe cinema, is there a particular movie that's your favorite? And the second part of the question is, as creative people, I'm assuming you weren't involved in the movies, but as creative people, is there anything...
I'm Thor's double, man.
Are you? I had thought so. Is there anything you would have done different in any particular movie?
I would have completely rewritten Iron Man 2, but outside of that, no, the other 11 are fantastic. Yeah, I wouldn't touch a thing.
My favorite is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Uh-huh.
Because it's fun.
Right,
That's
right.
it. To get back to your second questions, wow, I'm not a writer. Maybe I can give my opinion about, concept design.
Yeah, right.
I didn't like the first Thor character design. It was too plastic stuff. The second one was better.
My favorite is Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
That is just, it's a beautifully constructed movie. It's like, I can watch that over and over and over again. Most of the Marvel movies I can, because they're fun. Most of the Marvel movies, at worst, are great popcorn movies.
Right.
You know, like, you can just put Iron Man 1 on a loop and I'm all happy.
Right.
If I think about it, if I could change one thing, I would I would all Star Wars Special Edition, the Edward Norton Hulk movie, because the end of that, it's just two big green marshmallows punching each other, and I could care less. But the way they do Hulk now, it looks great. If I could just go in and lift all those CGI Hulk and Abominations out and put in modern day ones, that would be such a better movie.
Right.
But you work with what you got.
Right.
I don't like any of them.
Like
And now I'm fired. Yeah, no, really. I know. I'm not a fan of any of them. I mean, Guardians, I guess, is the closest thing to something I like. I'm a big Coen Brothers fan. So I like mostly more realistic things. I don't know. It would be fun to see.
Wait, so in your mind, Raising Arizona and Hudsucker Proxy are realistic?
Well, in the treatment, I would say.
Okay.
Vanessa, how do you feel about the Marvel television shows? Like we were talking about Jessica Jones yesterday.
Jessica Jones, I just got into it. I like it so far. Yeah, I'm into it.
Agent Carter with Haley Atwell. Oh my, he is the best. I like watching her kick ass.
Yeah. We got a question here.
So I really loved the, of course, your Spider-Man, Avenging Spider-Man, all of those, the other recent ones, but I really enjoyed your She-Hulk run back then. And, Greg Horn doing the covers and all that, spectacular. Now, I really miss that she's not around anymore. Her book only went to 12 issues recently.
You should check out the Charles Soule book. It's great.
Yeah, well, there you go. And, I mean, are you planning on writing anything with her?
But you gotta remember, Marguerite and everyone's writing her in A-Force, and they're doing a great job.
She's an A-Force, but I want a
You want solo She-Hulk.
Yeah, I love She-Hulk when she's on her own, because she's more, she has more room to do what she needs to do versus dealing with the team aspect.
I totally hear you. There were 2 stories we didn't get to tell that hurt, because I had to leave to go do another book. We had to wrap up. And there were these 2 stories I really wanted to do before I passed it off to Peter. I wanted to do a superhero divorce case where they're all splitting up the assets, and it's like, okay, you get the Batcave, but I get Robin. And you can use the sidekick every weekend. It's like, I wanted to do that. And I wanted to do one where Pug's high school teacher gets fired because he starts teaching Marvel creationism in school, and it would be and then Lord Odin came down from the world tree and created the 9 realms. But everything he's saying is true in the Marvel universe, and then the Kree separated our genome into Inhumans and humans and deviants, and they just fire him. And at one point when they're doing the trial, Jan was going to call down the Watcher. The Watcher takes his hand and goes, "It's all true." And he's still fired. I wanted to do that so bad. That'd be amazing. Oh, thank you.
Question.
I have a question for the teddy bear.
Oh, great. That's on
You've mentioned
YouTube.
multiple
That's on
times.
YouTube now. Thank you.
You've mentioned multiple times how you have a darker material what inspires you to think of things like that? Is it your own imagination, or is it based off of other things?
Just pain. Pain is funny. There's and every form of pain is funny. It's my upbringing. When I was doing She-Hulk, there was this character Pug, and he loved She-Hulk so much, and She-Hulk just like Ducky in Pretty in Pink. She just did not see it. And as if I was doing my job right as the reader, you're like, oh, why won't you just realize that Pug loves her and he loves her so much? And then the book went away and we came back with a relaunch. And in the relaunch, like within one of the ends of the first issues, Pug and Jen are heading home and they're talking about this case, and they both go into the same apartment. And the door closes, and all the readers are like, oh my God, in the break, they're living together now, they're living together now. And in the next issue, Pug is making breakfast, and She-Hulk, Jen, comes in like a male shirt, but like no pants, and she's all like, hey, will you making some for me too? Yeah, I'm making some for you too. And then John Jameson comes in pajama bottoms and sits next to Jen. Oh my God. And they're roommates, and she has a boyfriend, and they're in the next room all the time. And Tom Brevoort read that when he first read it, and he was laughing. And Tom Brevoort, if you know Tom, he doesn't laugh that often. And he was just laughing and laughing. And I'm like, what's so funny? And he's like, this scene, like, it's not that funny. No, it's so funny. You know why? I said, why? Because that's you! Your pain is always funny. Or it makes for a cool comic. Right from pain. Question.
I have a question. How did you get involved for writing for comic books? Like, how did you begin? Like, did you pitch to Marvel or DC?
Well, how did you guys break in?
I got an email.
Yes. Will you please send this money to help this Nigerian prince? And would you like to work for Marvel?
I won the Chester Quiz. Do you remember that? It was a worldwide challenge for talent scouting. Yeah, that was the only.
You won a worldwide challenge.
Yeah.
Of course you did. Of course you did. Fantastic.
This is the way
I lied. So I got in by lying. Marvel had a college internship program, and I found out about it too late, and I just graduated from college. So I went up for a sister's wedding, and I applied for the internship while I was in town. And I figured if I got in, I could network and meet people, and then maybe I could write some comics. And they said, like, what college you can go to? And I went, well, I just graduated from. And they went, oh, we can't use you. And I'd only been in there like 5 minutes, and they kicked me out. Fortunately, I have twin sisters, and the other one got married like 4 or 5 months later. So I came back to town for the second wedding, and I realized they're not going to remember me from 5 minutes. So I got my old college professor to write up a thing saying it was a post-credit for the internship, and I figured they weren't going to read it. So they said, what college you go to? And I just lied and said I was still in college, and they gave me the internship, and then I was the intern who didn't leave. Because I didn't have to go back to college. And at one point they came up to me and they went like, we'd like to offer you a staff job, but you have to go back to college. And I came back the next day with my diploma and I went, I lied! And they gave me the staff job, and I was in. And once I was in, you weren't getting me out. Where am I going? There was, when we were getting paid back then, it was before electronic mail. So they would come down with a cart and they would give everyone a paycheck. And they weren't giving me a paycheck. And it was going like weeks and weeks and I wasn't getting paid. And I had to go to Tom DeFalco, who's editor-in-chief, and go, Tom, I haven't been getting paid for my work. And he's like, what do you mean getting paid? You're a college intern. And I go, but no, I'm a staffer. You're an intern. I'm like, I lied. And he looked at me and went, don't ever do that again. And then I started getting paid. And I got the back pay. But from that, whenever I go up on the staff, because you can't do this now. So the way I broke in, you can't do this. Because now they make interns do mountains of paperwork. And this is 24 years later. And when I go into Marvel and I'm introduced to a college intern, they go, I heard an urban myth I heard I had to fill out all this paperwork because of you. And I'm like, yeah, that's real. That's real. That means you have to do that. So every college intern I meet hates me.
Question.
This is for all of you. What's your favorite process? What's your favorite part of the process when you're creating all your comics for your characters?
I want to say layouts are my favorite part.
It's mine too. Yeah.
Getting paid. I'm kidding. No, my favorite part is the rewrite. My favorite part is the rewrite because when you see it all come together and then you have a moment to step back and polish and noodle. I love that like right before it goes and then now it's done. And then you lock the door and it's done. I met a really prolific writer, I'm not going to say who, and because I write very slowly. And whenever I'm with a writer I admire, I sit them down, I want to find out, like, how do you do this and how do you do that? And I want to tap their brain. And I ask them, like, okay, so when you're writing your second draft, and he goes, wait, what? He's like, when you're writing your second draft, and he goes, second draft. And I'm like, okay, now I understand how to get so much done. But he's really good. So, and it's a he. I've just given away it's a he. So it's not Gail Simone.
Question.
What in your lives? What was the defining moment that made you think, I want to be a writer, I want to be an artist? What was that for both all of you?
You know, drawing. It's what I always done. But I think it was since when I was a child, it was my way to be alone. So I said, why not gain money from that? I know it's not romantic, but so that's the only job I always had in my mind, I guess.
Right.
Pretty much the same. I mean, just looking at other people's work, my heroes, they made me want to be an artist.
I met SpiderMan.
Santa Claus?
I always loved the SpiderMan cartoon, from the 60s. They showed that, SpiderMan. I always loved that cartoon, and I always loved Spider-Man. And I read some of my cousin's comics, but I never thought of buying them for myself or having them. And one day I was biking home from grade school, and I passed the 7-Eleven, there was a big poster that said Spider-Man was coming to town to sign comics. And I got off my bike and I ran into 7-Eleven, and I'm like, Spider-Man's gonna be here? I was the right age. I was like, how do I meet Spider-Man? How do I meet Spider-Man? He's like, he's gonna sign comics, and they pointed to the rack. I was like, I'd never noticed it before. I was like, whoa. And I specifically bought, I went home and asked my dad for an allowance, because I didn't even have an allowance, and he gave me the amount it cost to buy a comic. So he gave me like a quarter. And he gave me a second quarter on advance so I could buy 2 comics with Spider-Man. And this was like in the 70s in California. And I got there really early and I camped out in front of the store because I wanted to see Spider-Man swing in. And I'm the only one there, and I'm like looking at, I was getting really nervous because it was California, like in every Spielberg movie. There's no tall buildings. And I was like, how is Spider-Man gonna get here? I was really nervous. And this is the moment that ruined me for life. So you can imagine like the Carter gas shortages and all these cars and honking, and the freeway was right up to the 7-Eleven, and the off-ramp came right up to it. And there were these 2 guys in the 70s that had access to a Spider-Man costume. And one of them was wearing, he was standing in the back of the bed of the pickup truck, arms akimbo, driving through traffic and weaving, and everybody's honking their horns and going like, Spider-Man! Everyone's like, yeah, he was like the 70s guy, like, yeah, I'm Spider-Man! All the way down off the thing, came into the parking lot, I was just, of course that's how Spider-Man would come in. And the guy, for my benefit only, no one else was there, he jumped out of the pickup truck, landed in the Spider-Man squat, and then just got up and walked in like it was just a normal day. And I was like, and that ruined me for life. And that was like, from that moment on, everything was just Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Spider-Man. And I had to write comics.
That is awesome. Question?
What character, one that you haven't done before, would you be excited about doing? Whether it's something you can do or not, what dream character do you want to do next?
If you draw anything, what do you want to draw?
I started reading Lobo when I got into comics, so I would do Lobo, but that's the sea. No.
You are batting 1,000, man. You only can talk about one issue. You hate all the Marvel movies, and you want to draw Lobo.
Yeah.
Marvel panel.
I have two. Daredevil.
Oh yeah, Daredevil would be awesome.
You know, very dark. Dark Daredevil, not shiny and happy Daredevil. And since this is Marvel panel, Harley Quinn.
Oh yeah. If I could do, like, you guys know me, Doctor Who, you know, I'd like to do some Doctor Who stuff. I'm Marvel exclusive. Ever since we got the Lucas, right? There's a couple of us who have been like patiently waiting, like, you know, Star Wars, that's great, it's great. Indiana Jones, like the Bendis and me and Charles Soule, we are perched on a tree like vultures, waiting for Indiana Jones. And when that thing hits, if that ever hits at Marvel, all three of us are going into a pit, and only one of us is coming. We want that so bad. But for Marvel guys I haven't done yet, I would love to do Moon Knight. I just love Moon Knight.
Question.
Hello, I once read an interview, Dan, where you were saying that you had ASM 700 worked out way back when you were writing 600. And what that got me curious about, this is a question to the whole panel, is I'm curious if you could kind of speak on the subject of like how often you'll have a giant plan like that goes years out, and then all of a sudden you got to put the brakes on it because editorial comes in and says, hey, we're doing a new company-wide crossover that's going to reboot everything. Like, how often is that something you encounter, and how do you deal with that?
We don't reboot at Marvel. Everything pre-Secret Wars matters. All your long boxes matter.
Yes.
Woohoo!
Convergence sucks.
What?
Convergence is terrible.
Which one?
Convergence was terrible.
I have no idea what that is.
You shouldn't.
Question.
Hi, I am actually a college student now studying for creative writing for entertainment, and I really want to make myself into a comic book writer. And this is a question for all three of you. For a writer who has really no artistic talent whatsoever, what can you tell a writer on how to properly make good connections with artists, from artist to writer? Like, what is some good advice for a writer and artist for their connection?
It's a tough question. I think it's a matter of how you write the script for the artist. It's not the content of what you're writing. So my ideal script, so that connection with the writer is, I love when the writer explains me the mood, the thoughts of the characters, and at the same time is not so detailed in the script. So it's freedom and informations at the same time, and that's great to build a strong connection. Of course, communication and brainstorming. Okay, that's obvious.
And money, you can pay them. You know, just come to the shows and meet them, and then pay them if you want them to work with you.
Yeah, you're not getting anyone to work for you for free. It's tough. You kind of need to be one of these people who has like the friend who's a really. It's hard to reach out and get that first person. Is if you're trying to do a web comic or you're trying to get your thing started so people notice you. It's tough. Guys like Bendis drew their own stuff, and Brian will tell you his art stinks. And yeah, but I'm being fair, right? Brian, yeah, yeah.
It's not relative.
It's not relative. It's all relative. It's fine. But you know, I stink when I draw, and I would draw my own stuff. And you kind of have to until you can make that connection with somebody who's a friend. It sucks. It's really hard to get started. It's so hard to get started. It's easy for me because I go, hey, I do SpiderMan. You want to do something with me? Sure, please. You know, and it's like, it's tough when you're starting out. How do you do it? Yeah. Oh.
I'm surrounded by spiders and artists. I just don't.
Oh, to say, will you draw my thing? Draw my thing. People, the thing you're gonna have, if you want to write, if you want to do anything creative,
cool stuff.
You're gonna have to step up, and you're gonna have to strut, and you're gonna have to believe in yourself. And they're not gonna believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. You gotta go in there strong and go, I want to do this. You know, and it doesn't matter. Like you see a movie like Ed Wood, where he's just gonna plow through and he's gonna make that movie. And you know what? The first one's gonna suck, and the second one's gonna suck. But the more you keep doing it, Chuck Jones, who created Roadrunner, had this great expression, and it works for everything. It works for stories, it works for art. But he said every artist has 1,000 bad drawings in them, and it's good to get them out as quickly as possible. So you just keep doing. But you believe in yourself and know where you want to get to, and just don't let anything get in your way. Just do it. Don't let anything other than morally reprehensible things get in your way. Question.
So I know back then there was a Superman and Spider-Man crossover where they fought each other. Which heroes now from DC and Marvel would you want to fight each other? Like which ones do you want?
Oh, who do you want to fight each other from DC and Marvel? I want to do Spider-Man, Batman so bad. I have so much of that worked out in my head, how their worlds connect and what they would do, and I want to do Spider-Man, Batman so bad. It's been done twice before. I don't care. I want to do Spider-Man, Batman.
How about the artists?
I think Sara Pichelli would be my first favorite choice in that movie.
I'm with him. Absolutely.
I'm not gonna have to shave my head, am I? No.
What a shame.
I would do it. I would do it. I would give you the full.
Cosplay?
I will give you the full Bendis.
Question.
All right, this is apology for Dan, is it? 24 years in the business? Okay. So I stopped reading them right before you started.
I ruined comics for you.
You did, thanks. And now I'm back into it with the young ones. But the question is, when I was reading my originals, it was the rough, almost supermarket paper, ink didn't line up, all that stuff. Now it's 5 different covers, 3 different textured papers, high gloss, and everything like that. What do you think has changed?
Get off my lawn.
What's changed the business the most? Is it the marketing or is it the technology?
That was all Image's fault. Image started with all the, ooh, we're artists and we're going to make our own company and we're going to use the best paper. And then everybody else looked like crap. So everyone had to match up to Image. And now all comics cost $12. And go knock on Todd McFarlane and Eric Larson's door.
Is it the technology? Did the technology advance with that on your side as well now?
Well, now it's to the point where you couldn't go back to the rough paper and make it cheaper just the way the industry is. It would be more expensive to use a different stock that got rolled up in the printers. This is the way it is. Suck it. I'm so sorry you have high quality paper and great color and inks and lines that match up. I love you.
Another question.
Yeah, so Dan, when you were describing your Spider-Man story, it sounds like, to me anyway, that the comic book industry or comics are in you, part of your DNA. And I feel the same way. I mean, I've been collecting since 1968 when I was 8 years old. And I still remember my first comic book. It was Tales of Suspense, Captain America, and Iron Man, and I still have it. And through the years, I haven't been collecting all these years, but it never really leaves you, right? And I get the sense that the same way with you. I'm not sure about the 2 artists, if you feel the same way.
No.
No. But I think for most people, once you're into the genre, it's like it's in you, and it's, you may not be collecting, you know, but you never not like it. You know what I'm saying? All right, now for my question. I'm sorry. So it was a follow-up to the.
If you could be any kind of tree.
So, you know, there's some banter about DC and Marvel, and I've even been at panels where, you know, Stan Lee even says, you know, DC, boo, you know, all that type of stuff. But I know they're competitors of Marvel, I get it, but is there really a dislike to DC, or is there just a friendly, competitive, you know, atmosphere?
I think it's more yay home team. That, like, I've worked for DC. There were a stretch in my career. I've been doing this now for 24 years.
Yeah.
There was a stretch in my career where I couldn't get arrested at Marvel, and DC was my lifeboat. DC looked after me, and there was times where I worked for Archie, and it's all comics, and we all just love it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Question.
Do you?
Oh, sorry. Sarah, go ahead, please. We want to hear you talk.
So say it's business, so it's not family stuff, so nobody is nobody, I guess.
Right. Mark Guggenheim told me at one point, like, if anyone ever says to you, we're a family, it's like we're a family, that's when you must leave and go somewhere else.
That's so true.
Yeah, because that's when they're getting close to going, will you work for free? Yeah, that's what that's setting up.
Okay, question.
I was just wondering if you guys prefer, like, thinking of your own ideas and then pitching them to Marvel, or would you rather Marvel come to you with something you didn't see coming and thinking them up from there? Like, if they handed you a superhero and said, what would you do with this unheard of superhero? Or would you rather, like, think of, oh, what would I do if I had Thor and work like that?
It never happened. That never happened. The first, in our case, you know, it's artists, so yeah. It has ideas to us, not so often.
Well, sometimes, like, when you were saying, like, oh, you have to halt everything for a company-wide crossover. No, a lot of times, you know, the company-wide crossover is where the Marvel Universe is going, and you might want your guy to be tied into that, or find a way that if you have that overarching story, could that thread through and build off of that, like a wave? So sometimes it's nice to get an idea. When I was working at DC, someone had this idea, and I honestly think it was a terrible idea, where a year after 9/11, they wanted to do a line-wide stories in every single issue that DC was doing that month of characters learning to cope with the tragedy a year later, like a way for DC to hold you by the hand, and here's your 9/11 1 year later kind of story, and that's terrible. And someone woke up one day and went, we're not doing that. But there was a magic window of like a week where that might have happened. And during that time, I came up with a story to fit that narrow band in Justice League Adventures, and they quashed it. But then I was like, I really like this story, and I wouldn't have had this story if you hadn't given me that assignment. And my editor, who's Steve Ackroyd, went on to do SpiderMan with, went, this is a really good story, let's keep doing this. And we went through and we did that story. I think it was Justice League Adventure 13. And that's one of my proudest stories. And I wouldn't have had it if they hadn't come to me with the initial, you know, be in this box, write this story. So it can happen both ways.
Question.
Is there a feeling in the comic industry that some companies are better to work for being a female than others? Like, is it...
As a female?
Marvel, yeah. Is Marvel better for hiring females than others?
I have no idea.
They're all the same.
They're all the same.
Yeah. They're all good.
One thing I'm noticing at Marvel is that our staff, we're getting more and more female staff members, more and more editors, and the more and more voices you have on staff, the more and more voices they're going to find out in the world of creators. I mean, I've got it tough. I'm a Jew, so and Jews. What Jews got works in comics? Oh, come on, Stan Lee, Joe Side. Like, you owe us. Everyone's like, this is a company by Jews. Yeah, all of it. right? No, you know, Jacob Kurtzberg, Stan Leibowitz, you know, all these guys. Yeah. If you read She-Hulk, the whole law firm that she worked for, it was all the real names of all the Marvel like creators of those days.
Question. Hi,
That's gonna be so bad.
And I know you're a lunatic when it comes to like plotting stories in advance because we met last year and I saw your board for like everything post Secret Wars. But as far as, you know, planning out future storylines, how far ahead are you guys in particular on your specific books?
You like
3 months. 3-4 months.
4 months.
You aren't getting me off Spider-Man for years. I've got like all this stuff mapped out. You know, a lot of times there are like these dreams what you want to do, and you have it mapped out, but then sometimes it can bite you. Like when I was working on the Thing book, we got canceled on issue 8. We found out by the time we were on issue 5 that we were only going to go up to 8. And when I started working on the Thing, I had it mapped out until issue 50. I knew what I knew what I wanted to do issue 50. My issue 50 for Thing was great. I talked to other pros in bars and I tell them what I wanted to do in Thing 50, and they go, "Oh, that was good." I'm like, "Yeah, you're never gonna see it. It's really good. Buy my books."
Question here. Hi, this is a question for the artist, and I guess most specifically for Vanessa. Scarlet Witch 1, enjoyed it a lot. The colors really fit the mood, help make the mood of the book, and I'm kind of curious for both of you, like, do you talk to the colors before and say, I had this idea, I want it to look this way, or they look at it and say, well, we're kind of this kind of feel, so I want to do it this way? Or is it different from colors to colors? Because the line art is good, it's great, but I mean, the colors are really, you know, some of these popped on Scarlet Witch 1 that emphasize certain things and all that, and I thought it was really good use of color. So I was kind of curious about that aspect.
Well, for Scarlet Witch in specific, in the script, it talked about what they wanted to do with color. It was mostly going to be muted and her popping, the red popping on her.
Right.
So, but they asked me which colors I wanted in the book, and I picked Jordy, because Jordy's really awesome. But that was all in the script.
Okay.
For me, maybe the first time I got to work with Justin Sponsor, is my colorist. So we spoke a lot. So do you like colors, the way I paint, less complicated, more complicated. After that, everything's smooth because we know each other. We know he knows what I want. So that's it. Sometimes it's perfect, sometimes it's not. But you know, it's comics. It's every month you have to do stuff. So
if you don't like something, do you just tell?
Sure. I give notes, but sometimes that's not time enough to fix stuff. But it's okay.
Something I'm interested, so it's interesting to me is, how easy for you is it to let go and go on to the next thing? Because we have to keep doing this every month, every month, every month. Do you have that moment where you go, okay, that's as good as it's going to be, it's off? Or do you like, does it stick with you and won't leave?
Well, maybe now, after 7 years of work, I learned how to let it go a little bit. Yeah. But in the very beginning, it was so hard to accept something that wasn't perfect. And then, no way. Yeah. No, I'm getting used to it. And maybe it's a little bit sad, but it's work.
Yeah, I'll do like one pass and then let it go. And then I don't look at the book forever.
Me too. I don't look at my stuff.
I had this thing where I was working on this issue of She-Hulk for Tom, and I got on the phone with him one day and I was all excited. And I go, oh, I know how to fix that thing in She-Hulk 4. And he goes, that came out like 3 months ago. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, maybe the trick? No, you wrote the story. It's done. You know. So there are times where you just gotta go, oh, let it go. Just let it go. And then someone comes up to you and they hand you that book and they say it's their favorite. Well, you sign it and you go, this one sucks. This can't be your favorite. No.
Maybe it's the best thing that people will love done by you.
Doesn't that break your heart? Or the thing that you worked on forever? Yeah, no, this one.
Yeah, and It happens.
But we made it on a Mobius strip and it took 6 weeks. I like the one where we did the fart joke, that was great.
Question. So I have a friend who, if Mary Jane was a actual person, she would stab multiple times, just hates her, straight hates her. And she would go to jail.
Your friend is scaring the crap out of me.
And
I'm so glad you said she.
Yeah.
I have a friend.
I have a friend, right? Yeah, no, she really, truly does. But my thing is, with Renew Your Vows, I was all excited about it. I met you, I think, last year sometime, and I asked, and you would not say a word, and thank you for that, but great surprise. So they, Renew Your Vows comes around, and everything just hits it. And I'm loving it, she's hating it. And I want to know why you chose, or was that always the plan to go back to MJ with that? Or how was that gonna?
Originally, Spider-Verse was going to run in Superior Spider-Man.
Really?
Yeah, and it was going to be about Doc Ock leading this army of Peter Parkers against the Morlands. And I'd been running this through all the creative summits over and over again. People heard it multiple times because we always keep coming back and here's where we're going, here's where we're going. We were this close to like the next solicit would start Spider-Verse. And I was bringing everyone back up to speed on Spider-Verse. And Axel went, wait, this is happening during Superior? And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of, it's Doc Ock leading the army of Spider-Man. It's like the Joker leading an army of Batman. It's kind of cool. And he was like, no. This is a Peter Parker story. We only get everyone together like this once. This story's for Peter. Isn't Peter in it? And I'm like, there's 1,000 Peters in it. And this is my favorite thing Axel Alonso ever said to me. Sitting across the table, arms crossed, went, not the real one. So we had all these arguments, and the upshot was we ripped Spider-Verse out of Superior, moved it a year.
Okay.
And when we moved it a year forward, I said to everybody in the room, you guys realize we're going to do Spider-Verse, and then like a month later, Secret Wars. So I'm going to do every Spider-Man ever in a story, and then you're going to do a world with 1 million Thors and 1 million Hulks and 1 million Spider-Men again.
Right.
And Jonathan, it was like, Secret Wars is fine, don't worry about it, Dan, do your thing, it's going to be okay. Everyone was like, it's going to be okay. And then now we're in the middle of doing that. And they're like, okay, now it's time to work out your Secret Wars book. And I'm like, Jonathan knew what everything Amazing Spider-Man was doing in Secret Wars. In the raft and in this and doing.
Right.
And I'm like, what do I do? And they gave me 3 options. He said, you could tell the story in between the cracks of Secret Wars. So here's what Spider-Man's doing on Tuesday, and Jonathan gets to write all the cool Friday, Saturday, Sunday stories, and I'm writing the Monday stories. And I'm like, that's boring. And then they said, or you can do what Sam Humphries is doing, just come up with something crazy. Captain America on a dinosaur fighting Hulks. Whatever you want in the Marvel Universe, just go crazy. I'm like, but I want to write Spider-Man. They went, well, then just pick an alternate Spider-Man and tell that story. And I'm like, I just told the story with every alternate Spider-Man ever. You effectively want me to take one guy from Spider-Verse and do the most watered down, here's one guy from Spider-Verse after I just did Spider-Verse. That's insane. And pre-board always takes me aside when I lose it and goes, you'll hit on it. You'll figure something out. I'm like, what alternate Spider-Man could I possibly tell that anyone would ever want? Ooh. And I went, oh, this is not good. This is not good. This is dangerous. This is the third rail. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I got it. And he's like, what? And I'm like, where he's still married. And he's like, oh. Yeah. And they went like, you should talk to Joe. Because Joe put so much of himself on the line and into it with One More Day. And you gotta remember, this is a guy who, editor-in-chief, CCO, husband, father, no time in the world, he'd be drawn late at night One More Day. He put so much of his life had to go on hold to do that and still do all the amazing things he does. That was really so connected to him. And I went to him and I went, Joe, would it be okay if we did this? And he looked at me and went, I trust you, you can do it. Do it, I believe in you. And I was like, damn, now I gotta do it. that's how that happened.
Okay, okay.
Question.
This was for all of you. What do you do to overcome a creative roadblock, or what do you do to get your creative juices flowing?
Like when you're stuck and you don't know what to do, how do you power through it? What do you do?
I look at other people's work. I watch a movie. I take a walk.
Trying to go out. Oh, sorry. I need to go out and do something else. Not drawing, not reading comics, not watch movies, maybe meeting people, drink some alcohol maybe. Sometimes. It depends how serious is the block. Yeah.
Meth. No.
Let's have a puff together.
That's terrible. Yeah, I've asked that question to other people too, like to my idols when I've got to meet them, like how do you, and everyone's got a different thing. You'll find your thing. Everyone's got a different thing. You know, it's put on the sorting hat and you'll find where your thing is and everything will be great. But yeah, the thing you have to do is you can't power through. You can't, if you've got that block, don't just stare at it. Go off and do something else. And if you're doing, the worst thing you can do is an all-nighter when you don't know what you're doing. Because then you get stuck in a cycle, because then the next day you're still there and now you're tired. You know, so get some sleep.
And a waste of time.
Yeah, go out and do stuff. And a lot of times it'll hit you when you least expect it from the left field, because your brain won't be, you know, I come up with my best ideas when, you know, I'm off in something completely else, and that's when the muse comes down and goes, ding, and you go, that would be cool.
That's so tough, because when you have a deadline, it's tough. You just gotta trust your insights and be like, okay, I'm gonna leave it now, and wait, and hopefully it'll come back. Yeah, clean.
Question.
So earlier you were talking about things that you may have done in the past that, you know, if you could change it, you would, you know, and all that type of stuff. So just an interesting story. I was talking to Neil Adams a couple of years ago, and he hates the classic Superman cover where it's, you know, Kryptonite no more. He hates that cover. Now, I thought it was a great cover until he pointed it out to me that if you look at Superman's legs, they're too far apart, because he needed to spread them out to put that, the cap, exactly. So he hates that cover. It was just interesting that the cover that is classic to many of us is something he doesn't like. Anyway, my question, I was talking to one of the creative people, and I don't remember his last name, I'm sorry, but I did the name, his first name was Duarte, and I thought that he was Portuguese, so and I went to go speak to him, and sure enough he is. He's from Brazil. And I'm sorry? ¿Qué? ¿Tú falas português? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. So anyway, so I asked him, so where do you live? And I'm assuming, you know, he lives somewhere in the United States, right? And he goes, no, I live in Sao Paulo. So, and it shouldn't have been shocking to me, but Dana, you've been in the industry for the longest, I think, here. How is that, the fact that you can communicate with your cohorts, you know, whether it's a writer or a colorist or an artist, without actually being in the office, right? I'm sure in the old days they were all there.
No, everyone's always everywhere. But nowadays with Skype, it's fantastic. And everyone's everywhere, and I blame C.D. Cebulski, because he just goes around the world and finds everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, but for me as a writer, it's really helpful to have a think tank, people I can bounce ideas off of. And I love bouncing ideas off of artists because they see things visually, and they call me on my bullshit, and they go, oh no, you need to do this. No one can draw that. You need to rethink it. And someone who's really helpful for me to have in my think tank is Marcos Martin. He's a great storyteller, and if I bounce an idea off him, he can see it, and he can go, what if you did that instead? Or, oh, that's good. And what's really great about Marcos Martin is he lives in Spain. So when I'm doing an all-nighter, he's up. When I get to like 5 in the morning, I can call Marcos and go, hey, so I've got my think tank mapped around the world for where I am on a timeline, and I can Skype them and they can help me. It's because someone's awake somewhere in the world, everywhere. It's great.
Question. This is for Dan. Where does your humor come from? Because it's so funny when I've been reading the
pain issues. It comes from pain, man. No, all humor is paradigm shift. All humor is, every joke you can boil down to, I shot an elephant in my father's pajamas, how to get there, and it's all, you see something coming and then you get a flip. That's where sometimes it's meta, sometimes it's left field, sometimes it comes from the heart. Like someone asked me, if you weren't writing Spider-Man, what would you like to be doing? And I was like, sleeping with the girl I had a crush on in college. It comes from pain, and it comes from a paradigm shift. That's it, that's humor. There, I've now taken something that should feel natural and wonderful and converted it into an equation and robbed it of all life or you caring about it.
I know we're running out of time, but we do have time for one more question.
How you guys doing? So this is about the all-new, all-different Spider-Man, and what kind of got you guys to go towards the villain, I guess the whole group, Zodiac, rather than going through your traditional Spider-Man villains, you know, for this post-Secret Wars?
Just really fast, we have so many new Spider characters, which is awesome. And Miles coming into New York, and New York we had such a big toy box with Spider-Man villains that one of the things we wanted to do with Peter was take him out of New York, take him anywhere but New York, to let Spider-Woman and Silk and Miles and Web Warriors and all these people play in the Spider-Man sandbox and let them have fun. So we need to give Spider-Man other people to play with, and it's just like, dude, let's Zodiac, fun, yay, animals, yay.
Do you guys have any last things you want to say?
Don't do meth.
Don't do meth.